One of the biggest myths about our emotions is that there's good emotions and there's bad emotions. And if you want to be successful in your life, you need to make sure you have more good emotions than bad emotions. When I'm working with individuals and couples and in trying to help them get emotionally strong, we have to begin by abandoning old, outdated myths about our emotions. We got to put down the emotional baggage. And most of that baggage is really what we believe or think about our emotions. So let's state a couple things right off the bat. First, every emotion is a healthy emotion. Let me say it again so you don't miss this. Every emotion is a healthy emotion. Anger, fear, sadness, frustration. Why are these emotions important and not bad? Because they contain data. They help you and I understand our internal world better. They help us see something that we will often miss, especially if we're really good at burying our emotions. So it's not the emotions that are unhealthy, it's our relationship to those emotions that becomes unhealthy. It's the relationship, not the emotion. The problem is not experiencing the emotion, but becoming the emotion. We get stuck in it and we identify it. We say things like, I am angry, I am depressed, I am happy, I am worried. You're none of those things. You're you. You just experience those emotional states. You don't become them. So think of it this way. Is the number 3 better than the number -3? Or is 17 a better number than -5? No, they're simply numbers that tell us something. And yes, different numbers will impact the formula and the outcome, but the numbers are just the numbers. Well, emotions are just the emotions. It's what we do with those numbers and those emotions is how we create a formula for our lives. So I think the real problem for us is, again, not the emotion, but getting stuck in them. So let me give you 3 things that might be helpful for you. Number 1, we got to limit the story circles. This is where you repeat or relive a negative experience over and over again by telling yourself this story over and over again. Some of us can really get hooked on a story because it helps us feel, even if it feels bad. The story becomes like a broken record that only plays the emotions that leave us feeling bad or victimized or frustrated. Story circles are like emotional concrete. You get stuck in them and then they harden and all the feelings and emotions get locked in too. So how do we get unstuck? Number 2, we got to name the emotion specifically. And the most important word in that statement is the word specifically. Now, the 7 most common or basic emotions are happiness, sadness, contempt, fear, disgust, anger, and surprise. But did you know there's 27 distinct emotions that humans can actually feel? And if you're using a tool called the emotion wheel, you actually could have around 34,000 different variations of emotions. So when we're talking about naming emotions, it's important to be specific so you can actually work with that emotion. Is it fear or is it fear of rejection? Is it anger or is it anger at myself? Or is the anger actually sadness? Whenever I'm working with a client, I ask them to push into the specificity, to name the emotion clearly. Vagueness doesn't help us be emotionally smart. I also ask them to give themselves permission to name it. You see, a lot of people feel bad for feeling certain emotions. They judge themselves for feeling something that society has basically taught them is inappropriate. So before we can name it specifically, we have to tell ourselves it's okay to feel this way. And then number 3, how do we get unstuck from this emotional concrete? Well, we got to return to the body. And what I mean by that is that emotions can drive us away from our centered self. All of a sudden, we're having an out-of-body experience because of the emotions we are feeling. In therapy, we call this disassociation, when we disconnect from ourselves. This is especially true if we have historical trauma in our story. And when this happens, when we leave our body, Our emotions now have the permission to consume all of our thoughts, our behaviors, and how we interact with others. This is especially true with anger and fear. We leave ourselves, and when we do that, we become emotionally weak. We lose the ability to navigate the emotions we're feeling. We stop coaching ourselves and soothing ourselves. So bottom line, when we leave our body, we leave our emotional strength behind. So emotionally smart people will always return to the body and not get stuck in their emotions. I'm Mike Foster. This is EQ. I'm so glad you've been here through these sessions. And remember, if this has been helpful to you, it might be helpful to someone else too. So please take a moment and share and like this video.